Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the thriller mystery films from 2024, titled Caddo Lake. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The movie opens with an accident in a place called Caddo Lake, where a vehicle is seen sinking into the deep water. A young man named Paris and his mother are trapped. Paris makes a desperate attempt to save his mother, who is having seizures, but to no avail, and he is forced to swim to the surface alone as his mother tragically drowns below. The scene then cuts to a few years later, where Paris and his co-worker are cleaning up Caddo Lake in search of the pipes. It turns out there is a drought going on, and the water is becoming shallow. We also notice a dam in the distance, which is nearly finished, with only a few sections still to be built. After work, Paris meets his father, Ben, and drives him to the funeral of his longtime friend. Soon after, they arrive at the location, but Paris refuses to go inside, because he doesn't want to see his ex-girlfriend there. In another part of the small town, we see a teen girl named Ellie hanging out at a supermarket with her 8-year-old stepsister, Anna. They soon board a motorboat, and cross the lake to reach their home on the other side, and we learn that they are very close to each other. In another scene, Paris is outside a hospital when he approaches a doctor who once treated his mother for myoclonic seizures. Paris doesn't believe his mother had a myoclonic seizure, because those patients usually lose consciousness and do not bleed from their ears. He suspects something else happened to her, and reveals that she didn't have seizures for 6 years before the accident. However, the doctor dismisses his concerns, claiming that the woman was unfortunate to have another seizure at the wrong time. Following this, Paris heads to his trailer, where he finds his ex-girlfriend waiting for him. He expresses sympathy for her grandpa's death, and the ex states that she is going back to Houston tomorrow. After this, the two begin to reminisce about their old days, and how they plan to live together, which finally brings a smile to Paris's face. Elsewhere, we see Ellie at home, pulling out one of Anna's loose teeth. The sisters then join their family for dinner, where several guests have gathered. However, Ellie feels out of place, because she doesn't get along with her stepfather, Daniel, and his family. She then privately asks her mother, Celeste, for a signature for school, along with her father's death certificate. Celeste insists that Daniel can sign it, but Ellie is adamant about keeping her biological father's surname, Lang. Ellie reveals that after 7 years of being missing, a person is automatically presumed dead by law. However, Celeste gets upset and reminds Ellie that Daniel is the one who raised her, so he is her real dad. In the following scene, we see Paris and his ex appearing to have reconciled. He then apologizes for pushing her away, and reveals that he was deeply disturbed after his mother's death. On the other hand, Ellie is in her mom's room, searching for her dad's death certificate. Anna then shows her a necklace with the Cancer zodiac symbol that she found among Celeste's belongings. Here, we learn that Anna is actually Daniel's first wife's daughter, but Celeste is planning to legally adopt her. Anna eagerly informs her sister that Daniel is planning to adopt her as well, but Ellie doesn't seem happy to hear this. Just then, Celeste bursts into the room, so Ellie explains that she was looking for her father's death certificate, but this only enrages Mom further. They have a heated argument, and Ellie ultimately decides to leave the house in anger. Seeing her close sister leaving, Anna begins to cry and says she wants to go too, but Celeste stops her. Ellie then gets into her motorboat, but Daniel, who seems to be a nice man, approaches her. He warns her about the low water levels, and asks her to come for breakfast tomorrow, but she ignores him and leaves. After that, Ellie goes to her friend's house, and spends the night there. When she wakes up the next morning, she is called by her mother, and is shocked to discover that Anna tried to follow her sister the previous evening, but got lost. Hearing this, Ellie freaks out and immediately rushes home on her motorboat. Upon her arrival, she docks her motorboat and runs into Daniel's brother outside her home. Ellie then enters the house, and sees Celeste panicking and trying to contact the police. At this moment, Daniel also arrives and informs them that the neighbors haven't seen Anna either. He decides to use Ellie's motorboat to go into town to search for his daughter. But strangely, he notices that the boat is missing, and Ellie swears that her boat was just there moments before. She believes that someone must have taken it. Elsewhere, We see Paris walking through the woods after following a pipe he found in the lake. He soon arrives deep in the forest, and discovers an old pump jack. And then suddenly, Paris has a bizarre experience. His ears begin to hurt and his hand begins to shake. Soon, he hears his co-worker's voice in the distance and heads back. Upon returning to the boat, Paris notices something stuck on the motor and checks it. He then comes across a necklace with the Cancer zodiac symbol, which looks exactly like the one Anna was wearing, and this makes him confused for some reason. Returning to Ellie's house, we see police officers arriving to gather information about Anna's disappearance. However, instead of focusing on finding the missing girl, they bring up Celeste's history with Child Protective Services. It turns out that Celeste had a troubled past, and had been accused of neglecting Ellie several times before. This enrages Daniel, but he assures the officers that Anna's disappearance has nothing to do with his wife. Back to Paris, we see him at his parents' house, going through his mother's belongings, and discovers the same Cancer necklace. Moments later, Ben enters the house, so Paris explains that he was looking for his mom's medical records, but his dad reveals he got rid of them long ago. Paris insists that he still believes his mom was misdiagnosed, but a frustrated Ben tells him that it's high time for him to move on. At the lake, an intense search for Anna begins, and Ellie joins several cops in their cause. Meanwhile, Paris takes his girlfriend to the same lake where he found the necklace earlier. They arrive at the spot, but this time, Paris doesn't experience anything bizarre, which confuses him. Elsewhere, the cops find Anna's motorboat, and Ellie realizes that her life jacket is missing. This implies that the girl most likely got off the boat and survived, which gives everyone a bit of relief. On the other hand, Paris tries to explain his bizarre convulsions at Caddo Lake to his girlfriend. There's something wrong with that place, but his girlfriend doesn't seem to believe him. She instead reminds him of the drought a few years back, when their boat became stuck in the mud. She begins to laugh while recalling that day, but Paris suddenly remembers that there was a drought in 1999 as well, just like now. Following this, he returns home, and begins digging through his mom's past medical records. He soon discovers that every time his mother had seizures, it was during a drought with low water levels, just like now. It was the same situation in 1999, the year she passed away. Paris thinks the seizures must be connected to the lake. However, his girlfriend doesn't seem convinced, and worries that Paris might be losing his mind. She assumes that the seizures are hereditary, and that his mother passed on the condition to him. She's more worried about their relationship instead, and asks where it's heading, which only seems to annoy Paris. Elsewhere, Ellie feels bad for her distraught mother, and tries to comfort her, assuring her that Anna will soon come back. Ellie says that just because her biological dad went missing, she shouldn't assume the same about everyone. Hearing this, Celeste snaps, and reveals that her father didn't go missing, but rather abandoned them for another woman. She explains that the woman even approached her once, and tried to attack her when Ellie was just a baby. Celeste then apologizes for not disclosing this earlier, as she wanted to protect her daughter's feelings. Upon hearing this, Ellie feels utterly devastated and breaks down into tears. After some time, she manages to calm herself, and gathers the strength to go look for her sister. She then gets on Anna's motorboat, and drives out onto the lake. Sometime later, we see that it is already night, but Ellie is still searching for her sister. She is wandering through a restricted area when she notices some cops patrolling nearby. Worried that she will be caught and sent back home, she quickly gets out of the boat. And then, when she goes hiding in the woods, Ellie has a sudden bizarre experience. She looks back again, and realizes that the cops are gone, and her boat is missing. This completely confuses her, and she spends the night in the woods. The next morning, she meets a local resident who gives her a ride home. Upon returning home, Ellie is perplexed to see Celeste freaking out because Anna has just gone missing. And it is at this point that the movie takes a shocking turn. Anna suddenly witnesses her own version arriving in a motorboat, after spending the night at a friend's house. This finally makes her realize that she must have somehow traveled through time, and arrived a few days earlier. Ellie then returns to her motorboat, and drives away without her other self noticing her. This explains why the boat mysteriously went missing days ago. Following this, Ellie starts driving toward the dam, and she notices her hand trembling for no reason. We then see Paris, who is also driving through the same place. At this point, a shocking twist is revealed. It turns out that Ellie is actually in the year 2022, while Paris is in 2003. This means that we have been witnessing two different timelines, unfolding in the same place. Moments later, Ellie spots Anna's boat on the shore, and assumes her sister is nearby. She steps out to find her, but soon hears Anna calling her. At the same time, Paris is surprised to hear Ellie shouting Anna's name in the woods, so he gets out of the boat. On the other hand, Ellie rushes towards Anna's voice, but unknowingly enters the time travel portal again. Ellie eventually locates her sister, and breathes a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Paris also crosses the portal, and arrives in a different timeline, where he notices someone in the distance. Back to Ellie, Anna questions Ellie why she smashed plates, and ran away from the house. The latter is confused at first, but notices that Anna's tooth is still intact, the one she had pulled out on the day she vanished. Through their conversation, Ellie finally realizes that she has traveled back to a month before her sister's disappearance. Meanwhile, in another timeline, Paris finds Anna lying injured, with a branch sticking out of her back. He tries to wake her up, but she remains unconscious. Therefore, he carefully lifts the girl and rushes to find a way to get her medical help. Elsewhere, Ellie returns home, and finds the plates she smashed before leaving. Her parents seem upset by her behavior, and Celeste angrily screams at her. Ellie apologizes and leaves the house. Daniel is also frustrated by her actions, but she tries to warn him that Anna is going to disappear soon. She begs him not to let Anna go near the lake from now on. However, Daniel refuses to listen to her and tells her to fix her behavior first. In another scene, Paris is carrying the unconscious Anna through the woods when he notices the dam in the distance, which is just being built. This confuses him, and as he walks further, he notices some workers nearby. He asks for help to get the girl to a hospital. The workers are surprised to see an unfamiliar man, so Paris introduces himself as Ben Lang's son, but none of the workers recognize his name. Confused, Paris asks what year it is, and to his shock, they respond that it's 1952. He also soon figures out that the lake is a portal for time travel. He checks the history of lake droughts, and confirms a major one occurred in 1952, just like in 1999. With this realization, Paris decides to return to 1999 to try to save his mother from the tragic incident. On Ellie's side, she crosses the portal once again, walking into multiple directions, before finally returning to her original timeline by noticing her boat's condition. However, she isn't ready to go home yet, as she needs to find her sister. To ensure she can navigate her way back, Ellie ties one end of a rope next to her boat. She holds that rope, and walks into the portal again. It includes multiple timelines, and Ellie secures the other end of the rope to a tree. Meanwhile, Paris also crosses through the portal, and stumbles upon the rope, which means he has arrived in 2022. He follows the rope, and sees Ellie's boat. As Ellie reaches yet another timeline, she finds Anna's life jacket, which gives her hope that she's close to finding her sister. Afterward, Paris steals Ellie's boat in 2022, and attempts to cross the lake. However, some cops spot him, and inform him that the area is off limits. Paris claims he got lost, but the cops grow suspicious as they recognize the boat as Ellie's. An officer asks for his identification, causing Paris to panic. He tries to flee, but in his haste, he loses control and crashes the boat, sending him plunging into the water. On the other hand, Ellie arrives in the year 2005. She rushes to a store, where she shows the workers a picture of Anna and asks if they have seen her. Unfortunately, no one recognizes the girl, so a disappointed Ellie heads outside. There, she notices a car in the parking lot, and suddenly spots her sister's cancer necklace inside. Ellie breaks into the car without hesitation, and grabs the necklace. Moments later, the owner of the car arrives, and it turns out to be Paris's girlfriend, and Ellie's actions lead to a fight between them. Surprisingly, she has given birth to a daughter who is now a toddler. Ellie explains that it was her sister's necklace, and asks the woman how she got it. In response, the woman reveals that it belonged to her boyfriend's mother, who was named Anna Lang. The boyfriend gave it to her before he went missing. Confused, Ellie also notices a flyer in the distance searching for Paris Lang, who has disappeared. As if that wasn't enough, the toddler begins crying, so the woman soothes her, and refers to her by the name Ellie. This shocks our heroine, and it finally dawns on her that the toddler is none other than herself, and the woman in front of her is her mother, Celeste. This implies that her dad is Paris, who went missing in 2003. Here, Celeste mistakenly believes that Ellie is Paris's new girlfriend, and pleads with her to ask him to come back home. Meanwhile, in 2022, Paris is in a hospital, where a cop questions him about his identity, and whether he kidnapped Anna. But of course, the man is confused and has no answers. Realizing they won't let him go, Paris makes an excuse to go to the bathroom, and seizes the chance to run away. It is raining outside. And the drought will be gone soon, meaning that the portal is also closing soon, so he needs to make his way there quickly. In 2005, Ellie is seen in a cyber cafe, and she begins searching for information under the name Anna Lang. Ellie finds pictures of Anna's school days from 1952, and prints one out. She compares the photo with the picture of her sister, and shockingly realizes they are the same person. Ellie then looks up Anna's profile, and discovers that she got married, and worked as a teacher, until she died in 1999. She sees a picture of Anna with her husband, Ben, and her son, Paris. This revelation leads her to the realization that her stepsister is actually Paris's mother, and her grandmother. Elsewhere, Paris escapes into the rain, and runs into a car outside the hospital. He demands that the passengers get out, who happen to be Daniel and Celeste. Celeste immediately recognizes her former lover, and watches in shock as he takes their car and drives away. He then heads toward the dam, with the police in pursuit. Meanwhile, Ellie also makes her way back to the lake, trying to return to her timeline. When Paris reaches near the dam, the police manage to follow closely behind to capture him. He realizes he won't be able to return if he doesn't leave now, so he jumps off the bridge just in time. At this point, the dam suddenly fails, causing the gates to release more water. This causes Paris to hit rock against his head, and drown after some struggles. Meanwhile, Ellie enters her own timeline in 2022. But then, due to the dam flooding, the portal unexpectedly closes. There's water everywhere, and Daniel arrives just in time, and saves her. As they head home in the boat, Ellie finally accepts Daniel as her family, and he also apologizes for not being more present in her life. In the final scene, Ellie returns home, and finds Celeste watching the news, where Paris's photo appears. It turns out that he passed away in the water, and was unable to reach his timeline. Ellie informs her mother that this man is her father, and that he never intended to abandon her. She also shows Anna's school picture from 1952, explaining that she had a good life. At this point, Celeste looks at Ellie, and is shocked to realize that she was the girl she had fought with in the past when Ellie was just a baby, as she mentioned earlier. The movie then comes to an end as the mother and daughter reconcile. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.